What made you break up with the person you thought you'd marry? FBI knocking at my door to arrest him for being a pedophile and a kiddie porn salesman. No joke. Doesn't really fit here because I did marry him in the end, but in retrospect I should have broken it off before it got that far. He wasn't who I thought he was, and I wasn't who he wanted me to be. He was depressed, obese and had huge self-worth issues and some trouble with alcohol abuse. The relationship ended up being more of a caretaker-patient thing with him making me feel guilty when I left home for work, and spending spare time with someone else was unthinkable. Short term I figured he'd get better, but he refused therapy. He tried starting 4 studies, but lost interest sooner with each of them. With this getting progressively worse for 9 years, in the end he had no diploma, no income, was heavier than ever, drinking daily and relying on me for everything. Leaving was difficult, but it was the best thing I could have done for him. He finally started taking responsibility, started therapy and now is financially independent, taking care of his body, and doing all kinds of active things with friends. In the meantime I'm happily taken, and feel a lot more free to pursue my goals and dreams with a partner who's also aiming for the stars. This thread really gave me the kick up the ass I needed to sort my mental health and finances out. I'm dating the most incredible man for 4 years, but I see now how my depression and lack of financial control is affecting us. I feel we are headed for a breakup, but if I get myself on track we might have a chance. She wanted to go to Florida for the Disney college program. She is a huge Disney nerd. She was too scared she would lose me. I convinced her to do it, because if she didn't, she would regret it forever, and that no matter what happened I would still be here for her. 6 months and an engagement ring later she told me that, while in Florida she realized she didn't love me like she thought she had. The ring is in a box in the back of a drawer in my dresser. Her worst fear came true. So did mine. I was raped while in the military. Fiance also military. I told him what happened, and he went out, had sex with someone, filmed it, and showed me the film, because I cheated on him, so he was making it even. I ran immediately. She ended her own life last October. It'll have been a year since she died in 6 days. Still breaks my heart. We were already engaged, but she was a very troubled woman. I kinda just shot this post out because I was so certain nobody would notice, and I needed to vent. Been breaking down a lot now that I'm approaching the worst day in my life, but it's good to know you're out there reached out like this. Thanks, everyone. We had been dating for over 2 years and engaged for about 6 months. Then one night, she bid me twice. Then I slapped her once, and she called the cops. We were drunk, of course, and got into an argument about something stupid, and I wanted to let it all go until the morning, when we could talk about it, when we were sober. But she was doing that thing she had been doing for a while at that point, refusing to relent until she felt she won the argument. I was going to sleep at her apartment that night, but when she wouldn't stop arguing I decided to get up and leave. As I was starting to put my pants on, she tackled me in a fit of rage. Then she bit my arm hard. So much so that she drew blood. I still have the scar. I squirmed away, but she grabbed my legs, and then she bit me again, hard, this time on my ass cheek. I still have that scar too, only it's bigger. The second bite she wouldn't let go, gnashing on my ass like a dog with a chew toy. So I grabbed her hair and pulled, then slapped her. She was shocked that I would slap her. Shocked. She called the cops. They showed up, saw all the blood, and that I was the only one bleeding, then arrested her. I was actually kind of surprised by that, but they were reasonable individuals. I did not want to press charges. I was done with her, and saw no need for them at that point. Turns out the town she lived in has a domestic violence law that compels the prosecutor to file charges without needing me to press charges. She took a deal that put a misdemeanor on her record versus felony battery and a year's probation. About 6 weeks after this incident I met the woman who is now my wife. This November will be our 22nd wedding anniversary, and in all that time, she has never bitten me, and I have never slapped her. She was in love with my best friend, and they were both in denial about it. They were engaged a month after we broke up. Edit. Answering questions. They both told me nothing physical happened, and I believe them, but they hung out a lot, which was pretty normal, because we were all friends in high school. And I'm pretty sure they were already emotionally involved, because she started to drift away, emotionally. They were both nice about it, and asked if I'd be okay. I said yes, because they seemed like they would be happy together, and I cared about them both. But I don't hang out with them all that much, because as nice as I try to be about it, I still feel betrayed. I still talk to my best friend every once in a while, but it doesn't ever really get any deeper than the "what are you up to these days" texts. And for everyone commenting, been there and me too, I'm truly sorry. I sincerely believe that there's someone for everyone. Whoever you lost wasn't that person. As they say in Meet the Robinsons, keep moving forward. He cheated and got another woman pregnant. Then called me a few weeks later asking me to be the child's godmother because he knows I'm really good with kids. Completely unable to manage money. Spent every dollar he came across on gaming and weed and constantly put off paying important bills. World dragged us both into bankruptcy. If I would stayed him. I moved across the world for him. He kept telling me one day I want to propose. Or I can't wait for you to be my wife. That proposal never came, and I was having visa issues, so after a few years I gave up and moved back. He was obsessed in making me look/speak better. He would control my food intake and make me exercise every day. Whenever I was out with him, I have to wear heels, dress well, and he would point out what other girls were wearing and that I should try on. Putting makeup is a must, even when I'm on a plane. I wasn't allowed to speak other language aside from English, and not allowed to watch dramas. That is trash to him. My last straw was him asking me to consider to get a boobs job. When I lost so much weight from all the exercise/controlled diet, I realized I cannot live this way anymore, and he will never be satisfied ever. Even though I still love him, but I was mentally drained, and constantly felt that I was ugly and unworthy. We had been dating for 3 years. Constantly talked about getting married and what our life will be like. He went back into the military and wouldn't commit to having a long distance relationship with me because it would be way too distracting when he's in the field and I pop up on his mind, and he didn't want to commit to a relationship while in the army. So we broke it off. The real kicker is that a couple months after being away in another state, he started dating a new girl who apparently lives in the same state as me. So, lol. After 2 years of constantly forgiving him for cheating on me, it wasn't until I needed to be hospitalized that I realized he didn't love me. When I needed him the most, he told me, "I'm sorry, I can't take you being in there. It makes me too sad. Call me when you get out." So when I did, I told him I just wanted to be friends, but I had nothing against him. Literally a day after I called him and told him that, he made FB official post dating some other girl. Lol, I'm married now and really happy in my relationship. I definitely dodged a bullet. We had been dating for 2 years, but had dated in high school 10 years before that. She had been married for a short time, but that all broke up right before we started dating. Anyways, she wouldn't invite me around to her parents' place ever because they were very religious and didn't believe in divorce. After getting engaged, though, I felt like I ought to re-up and clear the water with them. I had known them in high school, though they had never liked me, and I remembered her dad's mobile number. So I called him. Long story short, she was still married to her husband. She had lied about getting divorced, and I was a side chick. Though she spent so much time with me, I don't believe they could have had a very happy marriage. The relationship died. We had very different ideas of what life should be like. For example, he had said he'd break up with me if I didn't get a college education. He also gave me ultimatums, twice, about moving with him to a small town both times. At the second time I let him carry out the ultimatum. Found credit card statement on the floor once, just before a family holiday. Thousands in debt that he'd never told me about. I'd been paying the rent entirely by myself in a job I hated, and I was too young and naive, 23, to realize he wasn't an honest man. That was it. Edit. We still chat every now and again. We wanted different things in life, so the argument that followed was the straw that broke the camel's back. My next partner, now husband, had a lot of debt from a failed business, but the difference was he was honest about it, so I didn't care. Money doesn't trump love, but honesty is the bedrock of any relationship. I asked him what I meant to him, and he answered nothing. She actually was quite the rude person, and believed anyone who told her that acting this way is unacceptable as someone trying to control her. She would always deflect, and couldn't just accept that people don't like blunt and rude ass people in general. My mom was dying. It was my last Thanksgiving with her. Without discussing it with me first, he had his mom buy him plane tickets to spend Thanksgiving with his parents, and asked if I wanted to go with him. No. I'm not missing the last Thanksgiving I can ever spend with my mom. We will have our whole lives to spend Thanksgiving with your family after this. You're leaving me to face this one alone, or to abandon my mother on her last Thanksgiving. It was suddenly very clear, being happy to cancel wedding plans to do it later, and many other things, that he didn't want to be in a relationship with me, but wouldn't break up with me, because my mom was dying, and he was too nice a guy to dump his fiancée whose mom was dying. To his credit, we remained close friends, and he continued to be there as my best friend and emotional support through her death, and some months following. Although it was 8 years ago, we still chat/text a few times a year, and catch up on how our families are doing. Edit. December 20th, 2018. I just got a call telling me he died today. It was tragic. He was a kind person, and only 36. R.I.P., my friend. We moved in together too young, and tried to be adults too fast. I should have known things were not going to work out when he tried to convince me to buy a house with him at 19. In Southern California, on 2 retail employees' wages. Like what? We were high school sweethearts. He was smart and ambitious, but he also loved to spend money and worked insane hours to try to make up the deficit. After we moved in together, his work schedule changed, so I was working morning shifts and would literally pass him in the driveway as he left for his night shifts. There would be several days in a row where we wouldn't see each other, and when we did see each other we were too broke to do anything fun. We went on a trip with his family after a big fight, where I begged him to not ask me to marry him. I told him I wasn't sure how I felt anymore. I was unhappy. He seemed unhappy. I wasn't stupid. I knew why he suddenly wanted to know my ring size. I hadn't been happy for months, and had become a workaholic to try to keep up with the expenses. I wanted to see if the vacation would bring a spark back into our relationship, then maybe we could work ourselves back into normalcy. He didn't listen, and asked me to marry him in front of his entire family, and surrounded by strangers, hundreds of miles away from home. I was 21, and had no idea how to say no. Our engagement lasted 9 days, because that's all I could stomach, while thinking about spending my life with someone I wasn't in love with. I have no idea what has up to now, but I've found my soulmate, so I'm peachy keen. She was already married. We worked together at job you couldn't wear rings. She hid it very well. I was the other guy. Found out when I proposed, and had to tell me she's married. Edit. We worked as military aircraft mechanics. We were together for about 9 months before I proposed. When she threatened to kill herself if I ever left her. Edit. She is alive, and I made sure she got the help she needed. Contacted public safety and her folks before cutting ties. After 4 years of relationship, her parents couldn't come into terms with my religion and caste. They completely opposed our marriage. The girl couldn't sacrifice her parents' relationship, and so she sacrificed me for them. I was extremely young, and in puppy love. A condition to me even dating him, that he was no longer to use drugs. I knew he was drug user previously, and he had asked me out many times during that period, in which I declined, until he was clean and sober. Eventually he was so determined to have me, he got clean. Later on I found out once he got comfortable with our relationship he was using behind my back, among other things. He, for some unbeknown reason to me, told his entire family I was pregnant. I was not pregnant, never have been. I never lied to him about being pregnant either, which turned my life upside down. It didn't end well. I broke it off. Now he's married with 4 kids. Every time we fought she would throw her engagement ring somewhere, make me get it, then make me plead with her to put it back on. Even for very small disagreements and even in public. That was the final straw. It was very F***KD up feeling begging somebody to be with me all the time. It gave he huge insecurity issues. That was on top of the fact she began to call me names and hit me a lot. It all started after we got engaged for some reason. Things were so perfect, but as soon as she got that ring everything changed. Suddenly she what I mentioned along with calling me a loser, piece of S***T, and ugly a lot. It was too soon to say whether we'd get married, but I was hoping it would turn out that way. He moved for a job and didn't commit to doing some of the most basic long distance relationship things. It's terrible to have to break up with someone you want to love because they don't have the decency to break up with you themselves. TBH, I'm pretty sure he lost his mind. He was constantly accusing me of cheating, going through my phone and emails, jumping down my throat if I ran late at work, calling my work when he found something he felt was incriminating to berate me and threatened to throw me out. He took texts and emails he found between me and another guy whom I was dating during a 9-month period where we'd broken up and used that to berate me and call me a whore because even though we were broken up we still meant something to each other and I shouldn't have done it. He was so cruel. He'd put me down and make me cry, then mock me for it. Anytime I tried to defend myself he'd tell me he was the only thing standing between me and standing in line at the Salvation Army and to be careful how I spoke to him. I was on my knees at one point, begging and crying for him not to leave me. I loved that man like a senseless fool. Everything kind of blew up when I went to the beach for a day with a friend and he basically accused me of slutting my way up and down the coast. It was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. I couldn't do it anymore. I had reached the event horizon for my tolerance of emotional manipulation and abuse. Huge argument ensued. We broke up. I got home and had already packed my S***T and I left right then. I was homeless for a bit, but I had my dignity and self-respect back. She liked sucking other men's dicks. I found out the guy was no longer working when I called to see why his paychecks hadn't come in. I handled the finances for us and he kept saying his boss would be sending it. It turned out he quit and instead of telling me, spent the next few weeks pretending to work. Instead he started going to strip clubs on what little money he had hoarded. When I went to break it off with him, he punched his hand through the wall and lost his mind. By the time he finally calmed down, he had turned strangely morose. He looked at me and asked if we could have sex one last time. My response, no. Him after a long pause, sifting through his pockets and holding out a $1 bill. I'll pay you $1 to sleep with me. It's all I have left. Needless to say, he left with $1 in his pocket and no final goodbye. Edit. I can't believe so many people read this. I honestly expected it to be passed over, so thank you all for taking the time and sharing your questions, comments, and well wishes. I'm sad to say, while this instance was odd, I have a few more relationship stories that were even crazier. Apparently I know how to pick them. Hahaha. For those that were concerned, the guy ended up doing alright. Anger management, lots of partying, and a few years passed before he found himself with a little one on the way. He's quite happy and enjoying his newest addition. Went back with him to visit his family in the UK for a month. I'm Chinese, he's Scottish, and found that he's an extremely selfish, self-centered, spoiled brat and his family thinks he's an angel and expected me to bow to him as they all did. Worst of all, he was never this way when we were dating here in my country, where he's an expat, but his true color shone when he was back with his family. Edit. What hurt me the most though was this. His dad was really nice to me because I think we both recognized that we were the same kind of people. It was always the dad and I cleaning up after everyone else, always us making coffee for the others, always us setting the table and cooking. And one day, when the dad came home from the grocers, he proudly brought out 2 large containers of fresh strawberries that he bought for me. I mentioned that I love strawberries. They are very expensive in my country. In some random conversation we had days ago, it wasn't even a talking point or anything, even I forgot I said it. So I told my boyfriend during an argument that his dad is so thoughtful and how come he doesn't see it, and my BF replied "oh please. You haven't seen my dad's bad side, he ain't such an angel *. Even if that is true, why would you say that? He's an absolutely wonderful dude. He just thought I was a different person than I really am. He and I met during a very stressful point of my life, and he thought that if I quit doing all the things that made me me, like volunteering, being a workaholic, helping my family, I'd be perfect. In the end, when the crazy subsided, I landed a job that makes me the happiest ever via the volunteering I was doing, and my family stabilized and isn't quite as crazy as before. We're both married to other people now, and thanks to social media I can see that he chose well and is super happy. I'm happy here, and honestly I'm really grateful for the way it all worked out. Nothing wrong at all with him, and he deserves all the goodness in life he has. We figured out that while we love each other, we don't like each other as often as we used to. We were becoming less and less close, physically and emotionally. And even getting lost in our travel adventures could only keep us together for so long. Oddly, she could be one of those sweetest, most thoughtful people you'll ever meet, but could flip a switch at the silliest times. Real mind ***K. Breaking it off after 6 years was one of the most adult and most painful things I've ever done in my life. I made 5 women cry that day, our moms and my sisters. I also cried like a girl. I half joke that I may end up just dying alone to avoid a mess like that again, lol. Blackout drinking and raging. Hangovers. Fights. Walking on eggshells all the time. Lack of emotional financial security. Immaturity. I couldn't leave easily because she knew about something illegal that could get me in trouble, and she was capable of drunkenly posting it on Facebook or letting the cops know, even though she profited from it too. Our sex started to die off in the bedroom, and she started to lock her phone and message late at nights with smiles that I never got anymore. After a long trip alone to her hometown to see her parents and friends, alone by herself, we were drinking late with other friends, and afterwards she drunkenly broke down and confessed that she slept with someone. In my mind I was like F***K yes. Score. B***** CHF**** KED up. Lost the moral high ground, and all I had to do was stay the course and act hurt. Still helped her to settle her matters, etc. She went on to continue drinking hard and F***KED up her life. After 2 years I came to admit that I'm F***KED up also, and also an alcoholic, and quit drinking through /r/stop drinking and AA. Her dog is with me, and I love her to bits. She slept with my roommate, and my other roommate and friends walked in on the mid-doggy. She cheated on me multiple times on her trip to Europe, which she is still on. I saw the Facebook messages on the computer where she was still logged in. Then she lied when I called her on it. This all happened about 4 hours ago. I'm at a bit of a loss. I was planning our engagement. I'm glad it happened now, I guess. Very rough though. It got to a point where he wasn't working or going to school and just totally lacked ambition. After all the support and trying to push him to do more, I was done. Edit. You guys, I've never had a comment reach 1k, more or less 3k. So thank you so much for that. It's quite heartwarming to see all the comments and reactions this brief description got. To answer a lot of questions I've seen, here it goes. He did tell me he had mild depression when we dated the first time, but he was on new meds the second time. I did communicate my issues to him and try to help him, but after crying countless times and seeing no improvement, I couldn't keep doing this to myself. I think we'll always care about each other. In case you're wondering, currently we both are in relationships with other people. I'd like to think things did work out. PS, my BF isn't thrilled that this subject got so much attention, lol. We weren't engaged or anything, but I thought he would be the one I would be with till the very end. But then my dad died, and he not once asked if I were okay or offered any kind of support. That's when I realized that we just don't have the same values where it matters, so I broke up with him. We have remained really good friends though and still hang out sometimes. He was cheating on me with a swinger lady, with random girls from Snapchat and plenty of fish, and his on and off again married ex-girlfriend. From when she was pregnant until her husband found out more than a year after she gave birth. He would also get angry at *me**, like I was bad luck when there were random drug tests, military, and he's just taken coke the night or two before with his buddies. He got angry when I had enough screenshot proof to confront him, and from the tone of his replies, he would probably have been violent too if it wasn't an LDR. I dodged a freight train and getting engaged to a fabulous man soon. We started dating in high school and had the typical first love relationship. We moved to another state for college and he just completely changed. Well, I guess we both did in our own ways. I was bored in the relationship and he had no ambition whatsoever, unless it was just one of his music projects. He got kicked out of school twice and held a job only like a month the whole time I was in school. I was the only income for us until graduation. I worked 2 jobs during school on top of my clinical rotations. He always needed some new piece of equipment. In my head I didn't realize I could leave the relationship. I finally had enough when I had a death in the family and decided I would go alone so he could take care of trying to get in school for the 3rd time. He made it all about him, that he knew my family didn't like him and was demanding to know why they don't want him there. Not once asked how I was doing either. He bugged me the whole time I was trying to take care of my family too. My sister was talking to me about how she was deciding to leave her husband when it clicked. I didn't have to stay with him, even though we were engaged. When I returned home I told him I would still help him get in school, but only as a friend. Make sure to like and subscribe for more daily content. Thanks for watching.